all of it. Just for this.
Sorry, a little faster.
That's it. Take your time. Ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order of the Board of County Road Commissioners for the County of Kalamazoo for our June 2nd, 3 p.m. meeting. First item on the agenda is the public comment guidelines. Ms. Ryder, please.
This meeting is being provided under Act 267 of the Public Acts of 1976 as amended, or commonly referred to as the Open Meetings Act. During public comment, participants will have the opportunity to address the board at the beginning of the meeting and at the end of the meeting for non-agenda items. Public comments should be provided at the podium in order to ensure proper audio. Public comments, statements, or questions shall be limited to not more than 3 minutes for each person addressing the board. To provide public comment by Zoom, use the raise hand feature in the Zoom application. The host will ask you to unmute. For telephone audio, use *9. Use *6 to toggle back and forth between mute and unmute. As you participate in the meeting, your microphone will be placed on mute. The chat feature shall only be used to address any technical issues for public participation.
Thank you. If you could join, rise if able to for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The goal of the Board of the County Road Commissioners of the County of Kalamazoo is using our expertise, energy, and funds to provide the safest and most convenient road system possible and contribute to the economic development and high quality of life throughout the county. Our goal is to maintain a county road system that is safe and convenient for public travel, and to manage the roadside environment with a view towards preservation. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. A motion would be in order.
So moved.
Support. Have a motion by Commissioner Kennedy with support to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any questions on the agenda from the audience here in the building or online or from commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Next is the approval of the minutes of the May 19th board meeting. A motion would be in order.
So moved, Thompson.
Support. Motion. We have a motion by Commissioner Thompson with support to approve the minutes as presented for the May 19th board meeting. Is there any corrections, additions, or deletions to the meeting minutes from the audience here in the building or online or from commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as presented from the May 19th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Next is the approval of the payroll and vendor accounts. We had a payroll of $217,739.47 and vendor accounts of $791,317.01. A motion would be in order. We have a motion by Commissioner Davis with support to approve the payroll and vendor accounts as presented. Is there any questions on the payroll and vendor accounts from the audience here in the building or online or from commissioners? Commissioner Davis.
Hi, I just noticed that our vendor accounts were significantly lower than last month. Was there a particular reason behind the diminished number there?
Energy Director.
Actually, I probably have to look to our finance director, Kim Bodner, to help answer that question. We are getting into construction season, so we will start seeing invoices rolling in here soon, if not already, for construction work. But we are in between seasons, so
Okay.
and you know, we purchased a lot of our chip seal material for chip seal, so we should be in pretty good shape there too.
Good. Well, I was happy to see that number a little smaller than 1 point.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the norm here over the next couple months.
Right.
But
Thanks.
I kid you, maybe they'll make a bond payment. We got a little bit of bond. What I went to pay off, that might kind of tilt the scale a little.
Any other questions? Payroll and vendor accounts, commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the payroll and vendor accounts as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next is on the agenda is public comment on non-agenda items. It's an opportunity for the public to talk to the road commission on non-agenda items. It's an opportunity for the public to address us. It is not an opportunity for us to get in the back and forth, but please come forward if you'd like. You have 3 minutes. Give us your name and address if you'd like. Yep, just come right up here to the podium. And if you do have any questions, we can get with you after the meeting to get you the details, but it's just for you, time for you to address us.
Okay, well, my name is Susie Fitzgibbon. I live on Portage Road in Vicksburg, which is Schoolcraft Township. And I'm here because I have heard about the trees coming down. I've seen, I think, 200 and some between Portage and XY. I think that's the number that I've seen. I guess my concern is clear cutting such beautiful trees. I mean, some of those have to be 200 years old. The current speed limit on that road is 55, which I know that you do counts of driveways and houses. There's been a lot of development there. There's roads. We have a boat landing. First of all, it shouldn't be 55, which I understand just talking before the meeting that is a state police decision. But taking and clear cutting, they're going to go even faster. And when you said that you're looking for safety, that is not a safe road to be able to go even faster, which I think clearing the trees will do. I'd like to know, how many trees are you taking down throughout Kalamazoo County with your grant?
It's not a time for us to get in the back and forth. You can address us and we can get
I think I've heard
answers.
like,
Later.
maybe 800 or 8,000, which is like 100 acres of trees. I mean, can you imagine what that is going to do to the environment to take all of those trees down? And I understand that you have this money and, you want to spend this money, but I'd like to challenge you. Have each of you driven down every road that the trees are coming down? Have you looked at it individually? Because I challenge you to do so before you approve things, to just take them down. So I guess that's why I'm here, is I don't really believe that you're taking the right position on this. I also would like to know if a township can opt out. I know that this is for all of Kalamazoo County, but if there were enough residents that wanted to opt theirs out, I understand grants can, be changed. I've worked with grants before, so I'd like to know if that's a question also, if it can be changed, if we can get enough momentum in Schoolcraft Township. So I understand you're not going to ask me, so I've said my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. You bet.
Can we ask her that?
I don't know if she gave her.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Can you, I will ask one question. Can you tell me your name? I didn't hear it. And
I'm Susie
Susan,
Fitzgibbon.
thank you.
I live on Portage Road,
Okay.
15651 Portage Road.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment on non-agenda items?
We have one other line.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Bernard, I believe. No.
Yes, hello. Good
Hello.
afternoon. I'm Marianne Barnard. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. I was looking at the RCKC Transportation Safety Action Plan, and I would like to comment that I noticed on the infographic that the public involvement, there were 324 survey responses returned on the safety action plan. And I was wondering if I can figure out how many surveys went out. And so I could figure out what the return was on this. And the other question I had is, that was the most important one for me was, is there a way to find out how many surveys went out? And I never received a survey. And so I didn't know if it went to the entire Kalamazoo County and those people in my neighborhood who are being affected by the change in the streets. I don't know that anyone in my neighborhood received a survey. So that would be a question. Maybe you can't answer it, but how can I find the answer to that?
Okay, we'll have to get those answers to you after the meeting.
That would be fine. Thank you.
Can you give me your address, please?
Yes, 15634 Portage Road,
Thank you.
Vicksburg. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yep. Commissioner Gisler, you're up for comments.
Yeah.
All right, but we have- There you go, John. Go ahead.
Okay, well, technology still has me buffaloed. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, I have a few items. The first one, and I am John Gisler, County Commissioner for 5 of the 15 rural townships. That's District 6, but I like to refer to it as 5 townships. Anyway, the things that will be coming up in the next few days, weeks, and actually one that doesn't come up till August 4, and that's when a child care millage will be on the ballot. And while I don't question the need for childcare in a big, big way, I do object to putting another millage in front of the voters. The Kalamazoo County voters are far too generous and they tax themselves to the hilt. And I think this is something that should be coming out of the $325 existing budget for the county this year, not from a new millage. So I'll do whatever I can to prevent that millage from passing. But don't let anybody tell you I think childcare is bogus, because I don't think it is. I think it's something we need. Excuse me. This is apparently a moot point at this stage of the game, but a individual that was exposed in Africa to Ebola is in the county. We think, we don't know. The Health and Community Services Communicable Disease Group has been trying to find him for several days, and they finally just threw in the towel and said, we can't find whoever this person is. Don't know if it's a male, female, anything else. But they also made their decision based on the fact that the CDC has dropped the case, and so has the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. So just be aware there may be an Ebola carrier floating around in the county, but we don't know. There's been an algae bloom in Austin Lake, and anybody that gets in the lake, beware for the greenish tint to the water with this bloom. My guess is you probably are going to want to take your pets and hose them down and shower them when they get out of the lake anyway. And that's just something I think lake people have dealt with forever. And the last item is Captain Jeff Baker of the Sheriff's Department will be speaking to my informal group next Monday at 8:30 at Mark's Diner in Portage on Romance Road. I guess it's called Romance, period. They don't put road on it anymore. And that'll be at 8:30 next Monday, June 8th. And he's going to address the subject of scams and fraud. So If you can make it, please do. It's welcome. Everybody's welcome to sit in with us. And, we're looking forward to what Captain Baker has to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gisler. Is there any other public comment online? There'll be a second opportunity later in the meeting for another opportunity for public comment on non-agenda items. Seeing none, we will get into our business portion of the meeting. First item up is a presentation. Item A, the 2025 financial audit presentation by Senior Owen Weber, Manager Jesse Klitz, and Partner Gene Young of Plant Moran, Managing Director. Do you want to do an introduction?
Sure, just a few quick comments. I just want to thank Plant Moran for being here today, providing an update on our current financial statement to the board and the road commission. We have Jesse and sounds like Gene both going to present today. So turn it over to them. Thank you.
Very good.
All right, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And Owen is here, so I told him I was gonna leave all the hard questions for him, so don't think that he's off the hook. So, I'm Gene Young. I'm the partner on the engagement. Thank you for having us here today. So I'm here to discuss the audit. The one question I do have, I was gonna cover the letter. Is that available to be put up, or do the commissioners have that available? It's the letter addressed to the board.
Right here, yeah.
Yep.
That's the one.
So if you have it available in front of you, it's really just a high level of the audit process. So I just wanted to kind of walk you through, as we're here to provide an overview of the audit process. We will go through the graphs, which give you more details on the financial condition, but just wanted to kind of explain a bit more of what we do. So in an audit, we're hired to give an opinion on the financial statements. So that's the first paragraph. We're going to take information from management, do certain testing of the numbers and make sure that they're reasonably stated, not absolute assurance, but that they're materially correct. You did receive what's called an unmodified or a clean opinion. That is the highest level of assurance that we can provide on the financial statements. So that is stating the numbers as presented are materially correct for you. The other item that we do within an audit is we're also going to evaluate key controls. So we're going to understand, payroll, cash disbursement, cash receipts, the road construction. We're going to look at key areas. Are there segregation of duties? Is there limited access? Are there reviews? Are there proper approvals in process? We do not give an opinion on the controls, but if we had any items that are referred to either as a material weakness, which means an adjustment could go through that is material and not caught, or a significant deficiency, which means would warrant your attention, we are required to report those. We do not have any to report, so that's always nice. We did have a planning letter, so we would have sent a letter out to alert the commissioners that our audit plan is we are required to look at management override under the audit standards. That's always considered a risk area. It's not specific to you. It's really industry driven or for any audit. And then obviously we spend more time with the construction as you do and everyone else here does. So no changes from that planning letter that we sent. The accounting policies are in your note too. And then this year there was a new GASB. That's the authoritative standard of what your financials have to comply with. It was called GASB 102, and it's just a required disclosure. If you have certain items to report, you actually had none that rise to that level. So there was no reporting under that. The second page of the letter, and this will be covered in the graphs also, one of the things that we do related to the audit are accounting estimates. So those are numbers that are not known, like you just approved payroll and vendors. Those are known amounts. These are invoices. The accounting estimates for you relate to your pension and OPEB obligations, whether they're an asset or a liability. Those would include assumptions by the actuary, the discount rate, mortality rates, healthcare trends, and various items. And then obviously the market value of the investments. Those can fluctuate. So this is the best information available at this time. We look at that, we evaluate what's being used to make sure it's reasonable, but just know that that number can fluctuate positive or negative next year, depending on items that are potentially outside of your control. If mortality tables got changed, that's going to impact your pension and OPEB. The thing I like to highlight in the letter is there were no difficulties, no disagreements, and no corrected or uncorrected misstatements. So a very clean letter from that perspective. So that's just kind of a high level overview of the audit process. And then Jesse was going to go through the graph presentation, but please ask us any questions that you have.
Thanks so much, Jean. So as mentioned, my name's Jessie. I'm the manager on the audit, and just want to start by giving a big thanks to the team here. Always such a great joy to work with Kim and Steve and Debbie and Katie and everybody. They make it clean and easy, and we're very thankful for their help. So I will go through some of the details of the numbers here. Let me make sure I'm working. Do I need to point anywhere specific? Maybe I'm not on. Oh, I'm not on. Okay, we're good to go. Okay. Okay, so this slide represents your balance sheet components. So as you can see, the left column is your assets and the right column is your liabilities and equity or fund balance. So in that left column, the red area is your cash. That, I guess I'm going to call it peach, is your receivables, which is largely made up of your Michigan Transportation Fund receivables that kind of just cross over between when you earned them and when you actually received the cash. That small amount of, I guess I'm going to say that's black, is inventory, and there's a very thin teal line for other assets, which is mostly prepaid items. And then in the right column, that is your liabilities, which are grouped in the very light blue, and then your fund balance, which is kind of your, I guess I'm going to say reserved assets, but we'll get into more details of what that entails in a few slides in that darker blue. Okay, I will keep moving on. So this slide looks at your road fund specific revenues over the last 6 years. So the farthest right column would be this most recently audited year, 2025. As you can see, obviously sticks out like a sore thumb. There's that giant blue amount in 2022 that relates to the bond proceeds. That's the year you received that significant chunk of revenue for the bond proceeds. But as you can see, otherwise, most of the categories between the last few years have really stayed pretty stagnant, which it's generally good. I'll continue on. So then this slide on the flip side of things looks at your expenditures. So again, as you can see, 2022 and 23 have that large orange amount that mostly relates to when you spent the most significant amount of money on this project for this beautiful building and spent most of your bond proceeds. As you can see, otherwise, your expenditures went down in the last few years, which is great. And most of the categories individually did not change too much. This next slide is then looking at your budget to actual. So here we look at your original budget in the first column, your final amended budget. So kind of no matter how many times you amend during the year, that column is the final amended amount. And then your actual and the variance between your amended budget and the actual. So as you can see, your budgeted revenues were a little bit higher than what they actually came in to be. But on the flip side of that, your expenses were less than you assumed they would be as well. So you had a net positive there of about 2.4. And then look, oh, one moment. Perhaps I'm not working again. Okay, perfect. Okay, so then this slide is looking at that breakout of that fund balance amount. So that's your equity. So this is all the different categories of fund balance that you have. So the orange category is going to be your assigned fund balance. That is what has been assigned by management to pay for your future debt service payments in that coming year. So your principal and interest there. Your, I'm trying to, like, what's the best way to describe this? Lilac is, that's your unassigned. So that's kind of available to be used however it needs to. Your non-spendable is the smallest amount on the bottom. So that's generally going to represent things like inventory and prepaid. So things that money's already been kind of spoken for, but money hasn't actually moved necessarily on the income statement. And then you could see, obviously, again, giant amount in 2022. So that was restricted at the time that you were holding your bond proceeds before you had spent them on this project of this building. This slide then shows both your pension and your OPEB plans. So this would, we got obviously go across the years again here, but your furthest two to the left of each year is your pension amounts, and I'll talk about the difference between reporting and funding in just a second. But the second two on the left are your pension figures, and then the two on the right are your OPEB figures. So the reporting amount is based on the net present value of future benefits of the participants in the system, which obviously also includes the county as well, but this is your allocation from the system. And as Jean mentioned, there's a lot of estimation and actuarial work that goes into all of that. And then the funding numbers are really looking at, if the road commission were to be tracking separately, what are the actual contributions that you're providing. The great news in either case is that all those numbers are in an asset position. You guys are in a really great position comparative to a lot of entities. You have both on the funding and reporting side of things an asset there. So it's a great spot to be. And then this slide is looking at overall just capital asset activity and debt administration. So this is just looking at the last few years as you really started getting into paying off that debt. So the first line is your total balance of capital assets, net of depreciation. And then the bottom section is looking at the figures related to your bonds. And so the total bonds payable line is how much you have left to pay off over time. Principal paid would be how much you've paid in the current year, and then interest expense would be how much you paid in the current year as well. So that concludes all our formal slides. We are obviously happy to take any questions that anybody has.
Commissioner, questions? Commissioner Kennedy.
So thank you for that report. It's nice to see the state of affairs, so to speak. Can you just explain to me, if you go back to one of the slides where you talk about overfunded pension and overfunded OPEB? Can you just explain to a layperson like myself what that means?
Yes. So I suppose I should clarify what OPEB stands for. So that would be your other post-employment benefits plan. So that's retiree health care, basically anything that the pension plan doesn't cover. So overfunded is a good thing. I mean, it sounds bad, but it means that you have the assets available to pay those liabilities off in the future, because there's a concept of a total liability or asset and a net liability or asset. It really depends on how much funds you have available in the trust to pay what becomes needed to be paid. So those estimates that Jean was mentioning, that is what kind of goes into figuring out what will be owed in the future. So you are sitting on a good amount of money to be able to pay that right now, as it's projected what that amount will be, but that amount might change over time based on mortality rates or just the age of the people in the plan, or all sorts of factors. So we obviously track it over time and look at it, but you can see the last few years you're in a pretty healthy position and continuing to trend that way. But the market's the market, and that has a big factor in it too. So
Sure.
Hopefully that was helpful. I just said a lot.
It is helpful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, maybe one thing to add. So the state of Michigan does watch the pension plans and the OPEB plans, that's what we call them. So if a plan is not 60% funded, which means, again, there's a total pension liability. So that's calculating if you took all the obligations that you owe everyone, that's the first number. And then you look at what you have in the market. What do you have in your assets that you're able to pay that with? And that's that net that you're recording. You have more than 100% of that liability in that plan, which again, you're in with other people, that you have an asset. So that is uncommon, as Jesse said. So again, the state would monitor if you're only below 60% funded, they want an action plan. For OPEB plans, it's 40%. And there's a lot of local units that would be on an action plan of how they're going to fund that. So again, your asset for the retiree healthcare is about $1 million, but you also have not been putting a lot of contributions into these plans, if any, because you haven't been required to. So again, this is a great position to be in, but it is impacted by mortality, healthcare trends, you know, how
Right.
many people are in the plan and everything else like that. So it can fluctuate, but a great position to be in.
Thank you. Vice Chair Stayhauer.
Just following up on that, we're blessed to have some senior employees that really we value and appreciate in our organization. But that means they're gonna retire in a few years, maybe a dozen years. It's not like we want them to leave. But is any forecasting done looking forward? Are we prepared for the next 10 years?
So that would really be done with the actuary. So they're gonna look at those assumptions and say, because they would do what's each year an annual required contribution. So a lot of plans, they would say, okay, if your total pension liability is 10 million and you're going to have this many people retire, they've taken that into account of how long they expect them to live, but obviously that can vary. If they started to get to the point where they're like, you need to start putting money in the plan, you would have that notice from them. And that's where the assumptions are critical. If the market could only get you a 2% return, you're going to have a lot bigger issues than if you can get a 7% return on those assets. So again, there's a lot of factors that impact you. The overall plan would be monitoring that, and the actuary would work with them on assumptions. It's kind of that what if analysis.
So it sounds like that work, the actuarial work, looks at the future and adjusts the amounts we should pay each year with updated forecast.
Correct.
Okay. Good. Sounds like, can we be overfunded too much?
Well, the only issue is, and again, these assumptions are going to vary, but this would be in a trust that's restricted for these benefits only. So that's where I have some clients, it's like, okay, if I have one plan that has 2 people left, it probably doesn't make any sense to put any money there, right? Because if you don't need it for that trust, it's not that you can pull it back and put it in general operations. So I would say, you know, where you're at, again, that's a conversation with the actuary. With the assumptions changing, you can see it's fluctuated. I don't know that if you had an extra 10 million, you may not want to put it there. There may be other uses you could put it in. And as Jesse talked about, a lot of clients will put it in that committed line and kind of keep it to pay future contributions without putting it in the trust, but kind of have a plan to have it available. So that's an option. But again, you haven't put in contributions for quite a few years in the pension. So
to speak, we're fixing more potholes than other road commitments. Funded here. We're putting those dollars into road work versus into what's required for pension and OPEB.
correct. You have more funds available to be able to. So if you look at your financial statements on page 31, this is your list of contributions and it's all dashes.
Okay.
So that's the last 10 years that you put into pensions. Again, you would not see that for a lot of organizations.
Some of our commissioners on newer, any data in your head, like we rank in the top or the bottom 5% of road commissions in the state? Can you give any global perspective?
We always get asked this question. I always struggle. It's really what your plan is, right? Like, so you have debt now, so you have obligations. If another road commission doesn't have debt, if their pension plan's funded, if they don't have a pension plan, there's just so many caveats. It's really hard to say, but I think as Jesse said, if you go back to your fund level on the first slide, basically all your assets are sitting there in liquid assets. You have $14 million that you're able to commit to what you want to spend going forward. You have overfunded pension and OPEB plans. So you're in a great position there. You have a plan that you're committing for your debt service. You put a lot of money down on that. So you're in a strong position. And again, you're able to use those funds for the road construction.
Thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
Hi. I was curious about the management of those, that's the additional funds. Who's managing the future for those trust?
So you're part of a plan that's run by the county. So you're in it, the behavioral health. So there's a board of that pension trust at the county that isn't responsible for that plan. And then we actually receive their audit and we would look at their actual valuation, look at the assumptions, and that's what we're using. So it's not that you are physically doing that. It is the county. You're in a cost sharing plan is what it's referred to.
So
more than one employer.
So we're basically in partnership with that, with
Correct.
other entities with that. Thank you.
Other commissioner questions? Just, I'll go back a couple of slides from the, and the negative $1.2 million slide on the variance. I just want to make sure other commissioners know that's because of the road package deal that got passed, that we took that hit for the last 3 months of the year. And so that's why that was that way. If anybody has questions on that. Vice Chair?
Well, it's a little bit different. Assets, there was a slide about our total assets. Should our total assets be status quo? Should they be increasing or decreasing? I think we're, the slide's readily available. I don't have it in front of me. Oh, I do have it here. Year end, like the total capital assets, year end 2025, 239,000. Slightly above 24. Is that good that our assets are a little bigger?
So again, it all depends, right? Like if you have road projects that you need to do of 10 million, but you're only able to fund 2 million, then I would say no, but you also have depreciation. So maybe declare, and I'm not trying to make it confusing, but governmental accounting does require that you have the fund level, which is called the modified accrual. It's more like cash. And then this is the entity wide, which is more full accrual, like a normal business. So these are all the assets that you've had from the beginning, minus the depreciation, the use of those. So again, depreciation is going to be a large number on the roads. So you have to replace them. So what that's saying this year is that you replaced more assets than you used up. It's really what do they need to be at is always the question.
We're sustaining our assets at. We didn't lose ground last year, so to speak. Our roads didn't, as a whole, didn't degenerate more.
Right, because that
Plus
includes
our
the roads,
facilities.
the building, the equipment, and
Okay.
again, but depreciation, you know, some people that would have gone down if they're not replacing
Yeah.
and adding.
We are replacing
Yep.
assets, equipment, taking care of our roads. I think it's a positive to see our
Yeah.
assets growing a little bit.
And it's costing more to
Yeah, it
do
does.
the roads than it did a few years ago too. So you have to spread that budget out.
Any need for us to have a sinking fund to conquer our debt?
So again, I think setting aside and having your commitments, obviously you want to be able to make all your obligations. So I think always including that in your budget is appropriate. I mean, it wasn't intended that you were going to pay it off at the beginning. You really had the money that you were able to put down and help with the bond proceeds. But I think setting aside that money, like you've committed it, of like, we know that next year's covered, is a good plan.
The blunt reality is we didn't get the funding we anticipated coming into this year or ending last year, and we've had to cut back just for my commissioner's sake here. Nothing reflected by our accounting group here, but it's gonna hurt. We've had to make trade-offs.
Yeah.
We gotta meet our debt requirements, and if we're not funded, I mean, we all heard the glossy words and from the legislator that they're increasing our road funds. They have not increased. We've suffered a decline. And you can't, we're gonna sting if we don't see the funding go up, because we do have to meet our debt obligations.
I think if you go to slide 6, so that was as Jesse talked about, the fund balance. So again, at that fund level, you had 14 million. You can see in column 26, you do expect that to decline down to 11 because of those.
Yeah.
You intend to spend more next year than you're going to bring in. And that's a plan. And again, sometimes it's timing of the construction. It can be cost. It can be multiple factors. But you are intending to use some of that up in 26.
Part of it is the funds not coming yet.
Yeah.
That's part of why we're seeing that going from 14 million to 11 million. Thank you.
Very well. Any other questions from commissioners, comments? Managing Director.
So just real quick, related to the pension and OPEB funds, in recent years, the road commission has been contributing to OPEB. But looking at our current actuarial, we don't necessarily feel we need to continue to do that. So you may see that reducing or ending for next year's budget. But we are looking at our pension. It's getting tighter every year, and we may propose to the board that we start putting some money aside to help shore up the pension side of that fund here for 2027.
Vice Chair.
You referred to our actuarial reports. Will we see those and kind of get heads up on that? or we've maybe already received it. I'm not recalling it.
Yeah, we just currently received them, so we can share them with the board.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to.
Maybe a presentation on that, so I'm taking the evaluation report and then it's graph.
Good.
I want to express kudos to staff here. We've gone through a change of accounting, in our accounting area, and Simmons retiring, Kim taking the lead. Just kudos. I'm glad to hear our auditors say staff's done a great job. It's more than one person, it's many persons. So thank you. Yeah, you can point them out better than I can, nor do I always remember names, but we appreciate you sustained this year an audit without with positive comments and no qualifying statements. That's really resonates good to us. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. We very much appreciate it. And
Thank you.
you bet. Go ahead, Commissioner Davis. For them?
Yes.
Okay, hang on. Sorry.
I just
Commissioner Davis.
One residual question, just a general information. I'm looking at page 5 of the letter, and it's the capital assets and debt administration
Was that the slide or the financials?
financials.
Page 5.
So in the MD&A.
Yes.
And in 25 and 24, there's an infrastructure and improvements line, and it's the most significant figure on the page. And I'm just curious about the valuations. How do you come up with the evaluations on infrastructure, since it seems like kind of a nebulous top, and it has so many components to it. And I thought maybe it'd be an opportunity to explain what the components of infrastructure are, since that's by far the lion's share of that entire debt.
Yeah.
And so, thank you.
So that's your roads.
Yeah.
So, and under accounting, so again, you follow GASB, there's for-profit entities that may follow different, but yours are at cost. So what you do is as you add a new road, if you removed a road, that's going to be completely taken off. This would be the cost of all the roads that you have within your ownership through 12/31/25. So there isn't any fair market value within here. There's no valuation. It's literally if you paid $1,212,000, that's what you record as the cost for that. And then it's going to be depreciated over, this is 20 years, I think.
I'm gonna double check that, but it depreciates over time. And that, so some rolls off the end, but you're obviously always working on roads. And so that's kind of a rolling number. And it just depends on what road projects you have going on and what funding you have and a lot of inputs to that.
It's more of a reflection of actual costs to date rather than replacement costs.
Correct. It's cost to date, and it would be only items that meet the capital asset amount. So like you could have maintenance and that's just an operating expense. That would have been your expenses.
Right.
If you replace a road or you do major construction, it's going to be reflected within this line.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Anything else, Vice Chair?
Some of us haven't been here a few more years, went through what was called asset management training.
Yep.
And so to speak, got certified. Some of us have these credentials, but the brunt of the work falls on staff or our leadership here. It's interesting to hear you say, yeah, our infrastructure is 247 million. But if you put that in today's dollars, we might get blown away of what our assets would take to replace.
Yes.
Okay, the public should hear this.
Yes, these are
That's
not
the
at
artificial
replacement. This is
number.
that cost. So if
If-
you bought something 20 years ago, that's what it's at.
It's like.
Less depreciation. So remember that too.
It's like a house you paid 100,000 for is now $500,000. So you can multiply these by 2, 3, 4, 5 hypothetical numbers, but we're just dabbling on the surface,
That's what I
taking
was
care
getting
of
at.
our asset. Good. You had a very good question. Appreciate that. That's all right now.
Nope.
Thank-
And it's the same for your buildings. Obviously, your building is newer, so it is more reflective, but it's at the cost. It's what you paid when you constructed it at that time. So all of your capital assets would be at their cost, not fair value replacement or anything like that.
It goes back to my comment earlier about our asset value better be increasing significantly, because if it's not, we're going,
Right, you're not
Yeah.
replacing because it's older
Yeah,
cost.
yeah.
Yep.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Yep, and just like to comment Vice Chair's comments on the change in finance directors and the team, and everything's running smooth. Want to thank past boards for many years and decades that have put us in the great financial position that we are in, and we want to continue to do that and be good stewards of the public's trust. So,
Hey, I gotta pick on,
Oh,
this
go
was the
ahead.
guy Owen. I don't know, I'm not good remembering names. Some guy fella
Oh.
there sat quiet, like he didn't have much to say. Oh, do you agree what they just told us?
Very good. Nothing like putting him on the spot.
Right.
Well,
Very
it's an
good.
easy yes or no.
Yes. Thank you. All right. We will move on now in our agenda back to public comment on non-agenda items. This is the second opportunity for the public to speak on non-agenda items. You're more than welcome to speak a second time if you'd like. Yep, if you give us your name and address and have 3 minutes. Yep, come forward to the podium, and same thing as before, just a time for you to address us, and we'll get back with you later in questions.
Again, I'm Susie Fitzgibbon. I live on Portage Road. I guess I'd just like to know, how am I going to get my questions answered? Who is responsible for doing that?
Somebody will talk to you after the meeting,
Someone will talk.
if you're willing to stick around. Otherwise, we'll get your address. As long as you've signed in, we can correspond you through the mail or through the phone.
Well, I thought of a couple other things besides the first ones I asked. How are the trees being replaced? Is it 1 for 1? Is it 1 tree for every 5 you take down? That's another question. And how were the county roads chosen to be clear cut? You know, how was that assessment made? I guess I'd like to know who's in charge of the project, a name of who's in charge of the project. So besides my questions of, have each of you went out and rode down these roads that you're planning to take 8,000 trees down throughout the county? And the most important one is, can we opt out of that grant? Can it be amended or changed if you find that there's residents that do not want this? So those are my questions, and yes, I'll stick around, and if you have the answers to them, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comments from public comment on non-agenda items from anyone here in the building? Seeing none, anyone online who'd like to address the road commission on non-agenda items? Commissioner Gisler.
There we go. It's getting better.
All right,
Yes.
go ahead.
Thanks, Selena. I thought I could do it on my end, but I have to let you do it. Anyway, I want to congratulate the road commission on the clean audit. I sit in on enough audits from various governmental bodies, including townships and whatever else, to know that a completely clean audit is really something to be proud of. And since you've had a shuffle of financial people in your ranks, that's I would think extra specially good. And that also gives me a chance to tell the one actuarial joke that I have. You don't get to use it often, and it certainly doesn't apply to the 2 ladies that presented for Plant Moran. But the definition of an actuary is someone that wanted to be an accountant but didn't have the personality.
That's funny.
Thank you, Commissioner.
There'll be no charge for the humor.
All right.
Drum roll.
Is there any other public comment from people online? Or here in the building? Mr. Adams. You have 3 minutes.
Adams. Have property at 15124 East MN Avenue. Has this Safe Road Initiative program been submitted to your legal counsel. And who is your legal counsel?
Again, this is a time for you to address us. We won't get into a back and forth. So just go ahead and address us, and you have 3 minutes.
So there's no answer on whether it's been submitted to
We'll get you that answer after the meeting.
pardon?
We'll get you the answer after the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any other public comment on non-agenda items? Hearing none, that'll take us to managing director's time. Managing director.
All right, I just have 3 items today. First of all, just wanted to share with the board on the heels of our SS4A Safe Streets for All project we have coming up. We obviously have a lot of tree removals included in that. And there's been some discussion on opportunities to have a tree replacement program as part of that. So our team is working at looking at some previous policies we've had in place and looking at other agencies to put together a draft tree replacement policy, something we can look at going forward with these additional trees, potentially up to 8,000 is kind of what we're hearing today, additional trees to be removed in Kalamazoo County. And that's on top of, I don't have the exact number, but we're well in the 1,000 to 2,000 range already annually for tree removals prior to this program. So, but we haven't had a lot of call for the tree replacement policy in numerous years. But again, with this influx of additional trees, I think it's a good opportunity that we put something in front of the board and have some discussion and see if the board's interested in redeveloping a policy for tree replacements. A couple more things. Our annual meeting with the Kalamazoo County Board is coming up June 16th. So that's immediately following our next board meeting. I'll be in touch with the county administrator, Kevin Catlin, to try to get us on their agenda and right after our meeting. So we'll be able to leave here and hopefully be able to present within a half hour after we arrive at their meeting from the committee of the whole meeting. So with that, we're primarily going to put together a presentation to review our annual report. And then also we'll be able to share some of our achievements and awards along with that. And then we'll have a few minutes at the end in case I'm sure the county board will have some questions for us. Then the last thing I wanted to share is related to our revenue, our Michigan Transportation Fund revenue. We had a really tough start to the year. I think the board is well aware, way behind what we had budgeted. And then in April, we had our first round of the increase in the MTF funding, which was well received. But then the following month in May, it was reduced again. So we just received the next month, we're back up again. So we're at the point now where we're just over what we had budgeted on a monthly basis for this current year. So we're just about 1.5% above. So if this trend continues, we'll be hopefully in good shape with our current budget, and potentially we could even add a few projects late season. So that's all I have unless there's questions.
Questions for the managing director, commissioners? Commissioner Kennedy.
So I just needed help with the first, the SS4A. It just wasn't, I mean, I see the letter of support. Is that what you're referring to, or is this different?
Is that the letter of support for City Portage? Yeah, so that's our board support for the City of Portage's application for a very similar program, Safe Streets for All application for their project.
So I guess I'm just not clear on our project. So can you just kind of restate that first part? I'm sorry to do that to you, but I just kind of.
So the letter you have.
No, I'm not.
You mean the tree
You said this
replacement?
is different. Yes, the tree replacement.
Oh, so the tree replacement.
Yeah.
Right. So the road commission's current Safe Streets for All project includes tree removals, clear zone improvements, right, as part of our safety project.
Yep.
So with that, we're going to remove a significant amount of trees on about 130 miles of road.
Right.
So we currently do not have the opportunity to offer the property owners a reimbursement program or a replacement program to be able to replace those trees. So what we're proposing is to put together a policy that allow the residents that are affected to use this program to be able to replace trees that are cut down.
And we'll be discussing that in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it'll be on our next agenda.
I just needed to understand. Thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
My question was just on the timing and when we received that, and you just answered it.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions for the managing director? I'll just, with some of the topics that were brought up, can townships opt out of this? And I'm gonna say that, no, that's not an option for our Safe Streets for All program, correct?
No, and really none of the areas can opt out. The only scenario that will have opportunities for trees that are currently marked are ones that we have to verify that they are within the road right of way. So if they're outside the right of way and they're marked, we would not take them. And also if they're on the right of way, we would not take them. And then we're also going through some reviews now for historic preservation, SHPO, along with the Indian tribes, right, and any concerns they have with removals. Those would be areas where trees could potentially be preserved, and if they fall into those scenarios, those categories. But if they don't fall under any of those categories, they have to be removed. If not, we potentially forfeit the entire grant. We don't get to pick and choose what areas or what townships that we want to participate in. It's everything that's in our application.
And the number of surveys, we did over 300 survey responses, is that correct?
We did, yes.
Yeah, and then,
Can I clarify that a little bit?
oh, sure, go ahead, Vice Chair.
It's not like we sent out 300. We made this open to the whole county,
Correct.
countywide, numerous times. Social media, meetings with townships.
And
This
county-
was countywide. Citizens had time. Remember, we started this in 2023, 24, 25. We're now in 26. There's been a lot of work done, a lot of opportunity for public to comment, and a lot of educational events, like our last board meeting. There was a lot of time spent reinforming us about what this SS4A is. Our minutes are excellent. That's a very helpful resource for citizens to refer to. Thanks.
Thanks, Vice Chair. Commissioner Kennedy.
So can you remind me what we're in the, so how much, if we were to forfeit, what that amount would be?
The grant is $25 million.
I just,
The total project with our contribution is approximately 33 million.
thank you.
And did we, go ahead, Commissioner Thompson.
So if, just to make it clear, if we did follow that grant, we would use all the money now.
That is correct. And potentially if we start the project and we don't cut the trees, we'll forfeit the money. Not only forfeit, we'll have to pay it back. I think we've spent.
And out the Safe Streets for All grant through our legal team.
I can't say that went through our legal team. It's a federal grant, right? That we reviewed internally. So
All right.
We didn't necessarily send it to any legal counsel. No.
Thank you.
Could I
Sure.
add a little bit? Realize there's like to use the word bureaucracy, but you got state and federal government, their divisions of transportation reviewing this, reviewing the plans, reviewing all the data, and we have this historic preservation, Indian affairs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Part of that are legal requirements. If any entity flags some legal requirement, we'd be called to task. The project would be. It's all happening in other ways. It's not like our attorney has to review these documents specifically. We're relying on our state and federal agencies. And we have to meet all of their legal requirements as part of this project, which we're doing. And it's laborious, and it's taken years to do it. Recognize there's a whole lot going on that we don't know about. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Kennedy.
So we are trying to work with the residents with this SSVA,
For
that
Correct.
this, I understand the grant. I mean, I didn't read the whole grant truthfully, but I understand that there's a grant. I understand that it's already been in play for many years now, but we're still looking at ways to try to see how we can come to some solution since the community has questions about it. Is that a fair?
Yep, I think, as the managing director said about the tree replacement policy that we'll be discussing in 2 weeks. Yes, we're getting feedback from county officials and township officials and residents and trying to find the best path forward. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
Any more questions for the managing director? Hearing none, that'll take us to commissioner time. Commissioner Kennedy.
So I just wanted to, it's really nice to have a clean slate audit. So I just definitely want to throw in my hat with the rest of the commissioners saying, great job. We really appreciate all the hard work. We always appreciate the hard work, but it's even nicer, all three of you, and all of you, because there's no I in team. So we really appreciate everything that you do and that you are doing. The other thing I just wanted to share, I always talk about veterans and the importance of making sure that we tap into our communities and our neighbors and work with veterans. And there's a veterans conference coming up next week for women veterans. That is not solely for women veterans, but it's for those who serve us veterans. It's an opportunity for the community to understand, working with veterans. I mean, if you're going to help veterans, you might want to know about veterans. So this conference is about that. So if someone's interested in it, please reach out so that they can get some information. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis.
I have no report.
Commissioner Thompson.
Just kudos to our staff. It's been said many times here, so thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Stayhauer.
Thank you. Just to double check, I appreciate Mr. Kennedy going to Park Committee. I have scheduled conflicts again this Thursday. You're planning to, I greatly appreciate that. I've had a couple of calls or emails relating to like KL Avenue. That road under 131's been closed. The residents tell me 2 years for the businesses. I think that's unacceptable, frankly. I'd be abhorred if my road was closed for 2 years. Anyway, if we have any leverage it with MDOT, it's maybe controlled by MDOT. I did walk it this afternoon before I came here. There's zero construction activity. It's just sad. The highway's buzzing over your head, but you can't drive down the road to your business. It's not acceptable. Another call dealt with a resident. We hear of splits and driveways. Anyway, that'll get dealt with by staff, but people do sell pieces of property. They have rights to driveways or no rights to driveways, however it works out. But citizens need help there as they deal with their, I'm going to call it their families' inherited properties. Kids, grandkids inherit things and they try to do the best they can. The last thing they need is bureaucracy that doesn't help them. That's kind of your veterans point.
Yes.
Look out for the welfare of each other.
Right.
Not that we can solve it, just one of us. But hey, I appreciate all the work done by staff, fellow commissioners. I haven't been able to be quite as involved as the past. I'm still behind the scenes, but yeah, just kudos. Thank you to all for your hard work and work hard this summer. We saw we had a lot of assets, but they're way undervalued because they're historic costs, not replacement costs. We have a huge task ahead. So to speak, work hard, play hard. Appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Couple of things. I see the Roads Plus County Road Association is having an event for members of the or donors to the Road Plus for our fellow road commissioners who are members. Tuesday, June 30th, up in Lansing, lunch with your legislators. This is the 5th year in a row. I've been to 3 or 4 of them. It's a good good event. I encourage everyone to, if you're not a donor, please give, and then please attend that if you can. It is a day of our road commission, but it should be over around noontime. So we should be able to get back here in time for our 3 o'clock meeting. So, Commissioner Thompson and myself attended the Township Supervisors meeting last couple weeks ago, and we did get a lot of feedback on our Safe Streets for All program from township officials and some county officials, and of course, we've been hearing it from residents lately. One of the things I've agreed to do and look into is contact the Kalamazoo Conservation District and see what we can do to partner with them. Find out what kind of grants we can possibly get from the Arbor Day Foundation to see what we can do for tree replacements. That was something that came out of that meeting. It seems to be that a lot of people, this is a really passionate thing for them. And then talking to the managing director, what we could do for tree replacement. And I think this is a good step forward, a good compromise to help as we go forward, and we'll discuss it in 2 weeks. As I've been meeting with officials, I've been talking about the benefits of the Safe Streets for All program, and I've come up with 5 talking points that I think are key, but I'm sure there's others, and I encourage commissioners to use these if you'd like, and staff to add to any of them. But 1, I think it's going to reduce deer car collisions. 2, I think it's going to reduce power outages and telecom outages. 3, I think it's going to reduce the almost $1 million that we're currently spending on trees a year and put some of that money on the road system. And then it's going to help the reseeding. Well, with milkweed, it's going to help the monarch butterfly habitat, which seems to be something that people really care about. And most important of all, it's going to reduce serious injuries and deaths. And so I think these are the talking points we need to use when we're talking to people. And like I said, if staff has others they'd like to add, please let us know. Commissioner Thompson.
Can you put that list together and email it to all of them?
Yep, I'll do something. We'll get something on paper for you. All right.
One more thing.
Yes,
if you
sure.
don't
Go ahead,
mind.
Commissioner Kennedy.
And thank you very much, Vice Chair, because you reminded me of this. So one of the things that I want to make sure that the community understands that it's really important to call or put in a service request going online. I know sometimes you may not get an answer, leave a message, we'll call back, but if we don't know about some of the roads or the things that are going on, it's really tough to try to advocate. You can always reach out to any one of us. We're happy to do that. But I personally am always going to say, did you put a service request in or did you call? Because that way I need to give the staff an opportunity to troubleshoot that before I'm saying, hey, what's going on this street? Or how come we're getting calls about this situation and they don't know anything about it? So I'm asking for the community to make sure that we reach out. And I'm going to give you the phone number. It's area code 269. I hope it's the right one. 381-3171. And you're welcome to go to KalamazooCountyRoads.com in order to be able to find the tab that deals with service requests. And not everybody's a techie. I'm not a techie at all. It's easier for me to pick up the phone and call, and that's what I do. Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner.
Yep, and I'll just add that if you want to send an email, instead of looking us all up, just send it to info@KalamazooCountyRoads.com.
Good idea. Thank you.
Hearing no other business, motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Or all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, folks. See you in 2 weeks.